to Sober Shenanigans, real talk and real recovery. Ready to kick the bottle? Just ditched it or rocking years of sobriety? This show is for you and the drunk-ass horse you rode in on. Join hosts Stauff and Primo for unfiltered, real-deal conversations about the wild ride of sobriety and living your best damn life. No judgment, no fluff, just raw truth, laughs, and the tools to keep it going. Whether you're sober curious or a seasoned pro, we've got your back. New episodes dropping weekly. Listen wherever you get your podcasts. Hey, sobriety's a journey. Let's ride it together. Nice. Well, welcome to Sober Shenanigans, real talk and real recovery. We are just two garden variety alcoholics trying our best to get through the day with no drinks, trying to maybe make someone's day better and let other alcoholics know that they are not alone. If we can help one person today, we have done our jobs. I am one of your hosts, Stauff, and with me as usual is my main man, Primo. What's up, Primo?
What's going on, buddy? I just want you to know that even though I'm court ordered to be here, I do love this show.
Nice. And with us tonight is our main man, Lou the fisherman, a.k.a. Lucky Lou with the flute. Lou, how you doing, Lou?
I'm stoked to be here.
That's right. I forgot stoked. That is my main man, Hunter Grant, right there. He will drop stoked all the time and makes you feel great because he is stoked to be sober. And that's what we are too. So, well, listen, let's jump right off into it, Lou. We're really glad to have you. Why don't we start at the beginning? Give us a story about when and how you decided to get sober and what was going on in your life that made you decide to do that.
I thought we were going to have a little seance with the
flute first.
Oh yeah, man. That's what I thought we've been recording for like 6 or 7 minutes now.
We're going to get the flute in a little bit.
We'll get to the flute. Yeah. So let's let Lou.
Listen, he's a bigger than you, so I'm going to listen to him.
I'm the ADD one.
Yeah, my name's Lou. My name's Lou. I'm definitely an alcoholic, and I was one of them alcoholics from the get go. I had a drink, and that was it. The drink took me. Yeah. At 15 years old, done. Don't even have to explain any more than that. I have all kinds of drunk stories and crazy stuff, but it was just how much can I get? How often can I get it? Where can I get it? Where's the money going to come from? And that was the end of it. I mean, I drank straight up basically for 9 years straight. Yeah. And I had some troubles, but I didn't associate that with drinking, or maybe I should curb my drinking. It was like, get out of the trouble that morning or that day or out of jail and go at it again. I never maybe I should stop drinking. All my stuff went sideways. I used to get good grades in school, down. I used to be the guy you could come talk to about the truth. I didn't really intentionally lie, but I would, kind of sin of omission. I was known as the guy kind of like, well, if you really want to know the truth, go ask Lou, when we were kids, what happened. But I sounds like a snitch, right? But, I just did stuff that I wouldn't do before.
Where'd you grow up?
Right here in Tampa, in St. Pete, Florida. I was born and raised St. Pete, Florida. I've lived here my whole life. I just bought a place in North Carolina a couple of years ago, and I go up there for a few months to beat the big beast in the sky, the sun. Yeah. And so I had some trouble, and where it really came to the end, they were getting closer and closer, those episodes of trouble. And I was on probation my whole life. It seemed like, even though it wasn't the same one, I'd get off one, get on another one, pretrial intervention. Some of you all know about that stuff. And so I ended up, I'd had blackouts from the time I was 15, 16 years old. I've been doing iron work for 44, 45 years.
Wow.
And if you don't know what that is, crawling around on I-beams up in the air,
yep,
putting nuts and bolts together and stuff. You might be 15 feet in the air. You might be 100 feet in the air. Just depends. And I liked it because you got a little respect that way. And it gave me a purpose and gave me, kind of like I could make good money and I could party. And then, we all say everybody parties. Like the iron workers are the worst. The carpenters are the worst. The bartenders are the worst. The people in service.
Painters.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. You could be a carpet layer. You could be a painter. You could be, an executive. we all think we're the worst. But I like that identity as a drinker. And I had so I had these situations, DWIs, I've been to jail, I'd had blackouts, I'd had hangovers, I'd had stitches cut up here and there. And in 1982, I came out of I was going to try some sociable drinking. I'd never done that, ever.
Okay.
So you know what? I think I'm going to try some sociable drinking. I had a sore throat. I've been on a run for a couple of days working. I was a workaholic also. And I've been working. So I got off work and I said, wow, I'm going to go to this, see this guy right here close. Well, I was on US 19, just down the street by Honeywell, where Honeywell is. He had a restaurant. There was a German guy and his wife, and they ran that restaurant breakfast and lunch. And I wasn't eating much back then, other than liquid pork chops. Okay, if you know what those are. And I might speak a couple different language once in a while.
What is a liquid pork chop?
A Budweiser.
Oh my God, butt wipers.
Yeah, okay, whatever. It didn't matter. It was whatever drank. And I was the kind of alcoholic that would drink whatever you had, whatever you brought. If you brought a bottle of booze to my house, I'd take the lid off and stuff it in my pocket so you couldn't take it home with you. Because, everybody put the bottle of booze under the seat, but when the lid wasn't on there, you couldn't do it. But I decided I'm going to stop and try some sociable drinking. I had a sore throat, so I got a bottle of booze, schnapps, and I said, hey, you want to have a drink with me? The guy goes, yeah, okay, I'll have one with you. And the little water glasses that they have. So I poured him one, me one, we each took it. Second one, he took it, and then he turned his and flipped it over. Now, I guess that's what sociable drinking is. I don't know. It was it was about 2 p.m. He'd close shop, and he'd ask, and I kept drinking. And he started going, you know what? Why don't you let me make you a sandwich? And I'm like, no, that's okay. Let me get you some water. No, that's okay. Why don't you take a nap in the back? I have a cot back there. Because you could see me getting, I'm like, no. And now this was in 1982. And he said, that was when I got my last DWI. I had 2 in my drinking history. And I had one in 82 and I had one in 80, somewhere around. I don't know exactly, but
wow.
And I said, I got to get out of here. This guy's, and this was before friends don't let friends drink and drive, bad, any of that.
Seatbelts.
Yeah, all that. Yeah. And so I said, I got to get out of here. Well, it was a fifth of schnapps, and which I usually didn't drink, but we have a cure for everything. Since I had a sore throat, some peppermint schnapps works. Got a hangover, V8 and a tall boy.
Just a thimble, right?
Something. Yeah, just a thimbleful. Right? So I said, I got to get out of here. So I grabbed the bottle and I said, I'll see you later. He didn't say you shouldn't drive or anything. He was German. So, they kind of have pretty good respect for not, other European companies or countries, they'll shoot you if you get caught drunk.
If you don't drink and drive in Germany, I think you get arrested.
Well, I don't know about that. Yeah. So I said I was going to head over to this. All I remember, I was going somewhere. So I grabbed my key. I got in the car, took one more pull off the bottle, put it at the floorboard, turned the key, and I don't remember nothing. That was the last I remembered. I came out, that was 3 p.m. About 12 hours later, I came to Pinellas County's finest, right down the street here on 49th Street. And I went like this, and I felt stitches in my forehead. I had about 18 stitches in my forehead, 13 stitches in the back of my head, crusty blood, head going kaboom, 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 and a blackout, not knowing how I got there. It was cold. They keep it cold in those jails. If you guys probably never been there, but so
it's been a while. It's been a while. The bologna was. I'm pretty much of a connoisseur of bologna sandwiches.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the blackout and all the stuff that goes along with it, and I'd had all that, but not all at once. And then the fear that came over me about what I did. Well, now here we go again. So they didn't let me out for about 3 days because they thought I had a concussion. Nobody was coming to get me at this point, 22 years old. They asked me, can I get some? I asked them for a piece of letter and a piece of paper and pencil. And I wrote a letter to a guy about that long, just saying, here I am again, stuck in Pinellas County Jail. I don't know how I got here. And I sent it. He never got it. But there was a moment of clarity. just a moment of clarity, well, here I am. Well, I didn't drink for about 3 days, 4 days, not because I didn't want to, it's because I couldn't get it.
Wow.
And it reminded me of a story. One time I got arrested and I had a doobie still in my pocket. The cop never pulled it out.
Damn.
And this was when I was like 19. I was in St. Pete. St. Pete used to have a jail down there right by Ferg's. And I remember going, oh, crap. And the guy in the cell with me goes, or the next cell over, he goes, what you got, man? And I was like, I got a doobie. He goes, let's fire it up. And I'm going, are you kidding me? He goes, what are they going to do, arrest us?
Exactly. That's awesome.
So we smoked a doobie in St. Pete jail, right? And yeah, I said doobie. We smoked doobie,
Is that guy sober?
And that was a long time ago. I don't even know who he was. I never saw him again after that day. He wasn't with me. He just he would happen to be. It was his lucky day. I got arrested.
He's
with
not going to forget you. He can't forget
that.
you.
He still tells that story.
He's still telling that one.
He's on a different podcast right now.
He is. You'll never forget. You'll never believe what happened at the jail by Ferg's.
So I got out of there. I got out of there and I went to see a lawyer. This is where this is where I believe in a lot of grace and higher power and stuff like that. I don't know where you guys are with it. For me, and I didn't see it this way until years later after I sobered up and became clear, but cleared up some. The jury's still out whether I got it all together. But I said, I looked at the lawyer. He took my case, $2,500 back then, 1982. Wow. Wasn't bad, $2,500. He goes, "What'd you do?" I says, "I don't know." I go, "All I know is I got stitches in my head. These stitches popped out of my head. I mean, they did a pretty good job. You can't even hardly see it. If you look close, you can see the scar." And and he said, "Okay, I'll take your case." And as I was leaving, this was the part. I was pulling the door shut. It was that close to being shut. I mean, it was almost shut. Yeah. And I pushed it back on me, sitting in a chair, just like Chris over here. And I'm right at the doorway outside of his office. And I pushed back on me. I looked and I go, I think I might need to do something about my drinking.
Wow.
Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
I don't know. He told me, okay, well, get a number for the alcohol referral service from my secretary. So I went out and I said, "Hey, can I get this number she gave it to me." I went home, I dialed it up. What's the chance of that we even, now here's another part. What's the chance of having a working phone in a party house?
Yeah.
And I dialed it up and it was busy. So now what do I do? Still in that. Now this is the second part. There's a lot of parts of it, but the second part was I was like, there's a phone book. Let me look under A's. Never heard of Alcoholics Anonymous. Never thought about stopping, nothing. I looked and I swear if my memory is 100% sure, and I could be wrong, but I was almost sure it was in the white pages. I looked under the A's and I saw Alcoholics Anonymous in the white pages. It was a little bit bigger print.
Yep.
And I called him up. This was in 1982. And the guy answered and said, "My name's Jake." Isn't that weird? I still remember his name. 1112 Central Avenue, the St. Pete group. It's still going on down there. St. Pete group is still going on. This is 82.
That's awesome.
And it's been in like a couple different homes now. They're not in the same place. Not homes, but I mean different places.
Yeah, locations. Yeah.
And so I said, let me, I went in there. I said, "Hey," he goes, "I'll get you a free cup of coffee." And I'm like, make free. I'll take it. Because everything else, all my money went to drinking. You know what I mean? But if you're going to give me a coffee. So I went down there. He says, "Go sit. Here's your coffee. Go sit down." I went and sit down. And there was two speakers. And this is why I think it's important to have identification meetings. It's important, really, to have ID meetings. A lot of people I don't like speaker meetings. Very important,
Yeah.
So
I've never heard them called identification meetings before.
Yeah, ID. Yeah, well, I get to a lot of meetings. I mean, I'll speak language from all over the world, it's brilliant, because I'm from England. No, I'm not really from England, but I speak English or Spanglish or,
Sure.
Crackerish, whatever you want to call it. St. Peter's. There you go. I like it. So I said, the first guy, no, I'm looking around. But the second guy, he said everything I needed to hear, and my mind cracked again. I heard him talk about waking up with strange people in strange places. Where'd the money go? Where'd the car go? I lost the car. What happened? How did I get two flat tires on the right-hand side? but he'd lost a lot more. But up to that point, I could identify exactly.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, maybe I could learn from this guy. And so they give chips out, as y'all know, in AA. And they said, and at the end, anybody want a white chip? It was a long room, chairs on each side, right up the center. I was sitting in the back by the door. The speaker was all the way up at the top. You know, we always sit by the door.
I thought about the other day at the Sober meeting.
Yeah, back against the wall, you know. And so I said, yeah, I'll take one. I went up. And some people might not like what I'm going to say, but I'm just going to say, this is what the guy told me. I got the chip. I turned around, spun around, and said, this is what happened to me. And they go, you go sit down and shut up. We'll talk to you after the meeting.
Sweet.
That's what they told me. 1982. I had a discussion this morning with some people on a Zoom meeting about that, because people still will do that and say that new people shouldn't share, or you just need to learn to listen. It's okay to share a little bit. And, you know, I just told them, you know, we're trying to get the solution, not the problem. And it's okay if someone needs to share. I get that. Take them outside. We'll talk to you after the meeting. We got a parking lot meeting, all that. And I'm not going to shut someone down who's struggling or crying or hurting. You know what I mean? I'm going to get to the point. I mean, we get compassion in this program. We have language of the heart, and we know, again, there's one of those promises, which is one of my favorites. They're all great, is we intuitively know how to handle situations that used to baffle us.
Yeah, I definitely think that people need to be counseled a little bit, especially if they have no etiquette whatsoever. And it's okay to do it in a loving way. You know, I like the black belt stuff too sometimes. Depends on the person. Sometimes you got to swing a different bat for, you know, some people need a different message.
Right. Well, when you start hearing stuff that isn't in AA also. Sure. You know, then in there in an AA meeting. And I mean, has AA got watered down or changed? In my heart, I think AA is still the same if people are speaking from the language of the heart. That's only my opinion. And I have to say, too, anything that I'm saying today may just be, you know, it's my opinion. If I didn't hear it in the book or whatever, I still go to meetings. Like I got to meet this year while I was in North Carolina, 3 people of over 50 years of sobriety in meetings. You know, so I go to a lot. Mason and Sybil came up and visited me when I was in North Carolina.
I can't talk to Mason until he gets to 50.
He's 40.
Yeah.
I said, listen, dude, I respect your 49, but when you get to 50, give me a call.
Right. Knock him down a notch, right? Yeah.
I love that guy.
Yeah. So I went to meetings and the guy told me two things, very important. This is an important part of my recovery is always talk to the new guy.
Yeah.
Always. That's more important than anything else. If you're in a meeting and someone's new, you don't recognize them, it's your home group, you better put your hand out. I don't want to care about you hanging out with your buddies. Get over there and talk to that guy.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm not doing it, it's only because I've seen someone beat me to him, or I've tried. One of my sponsors is over there talking to him.
Yep. Stauff.
Yep. Primo says that all the time.
It's important.
Yeah, man. Old school.
He also says if there is a new guy, we're supposed to read how it works.
Absolutely. And my sponsor, I have a sponsor now, but my sponsor died previous to that.
Yeah.
He said, I've had 3 sponsors that have died, all died sober.
Cool.
And he said that's the most important part of the meeting, really, is how it works. Because you're going to get everybody else's opinion or story or whatever, but how it works tells you how it works.
Yeah.
It's very important.
I lost my sponsor.
Yeah. So I
Yeah, man.
Oh, I cried like a baby.
Dude, I looked at my phone and I didn't even realize I was at they were eulogizing him. A bunch of these sponsees were there, and I was just like, and I was looking at my phone. I'm like, my phone is no longer, it's useless now. You know what I mean? Like, it was such an important answer of all things mysterious. Any problem I had, the phone was going to give me the answer. I mean, obviously, it's a great tool in our lives today. But, man, it was just, my phone wasn't the same after he passed. I'm like, shit, this thing is, I was like, it was kind of a weird thing come over me. My sponsor was definitely be on the Mount Rushmore of Tampa AA. He was one of them cats. So good. So solid.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It hurts, man.
Yeah. You feel, and that's the thing, we get our feelings back, you know?
Sure.
We get our feelings back. And it's the good news and the bad news,
Yeah.
both. And, when they say we feel better, we say, oh, you get sober, you feel better. No, you feel better.
Yeah.
So that, because the booze worked, let's admit it. The booze and the stuff worked until it didn't for this alcoholic, and I like to say I'm a feel-good junkie, right?
Right.
Out there, I said the word junkie. Sorry, guys, but I'm a feel-good guy. I like to feel good, right?
Yeah.
And so if I'm going to AA and I feel good, why would I stop?
Yeah.
Right? Why would I stop?
Right.
Yeah.
And so I continued to go. But recently, I don't know, in the last few years, I realized it wasn't really alcohol. I used to like to feel good from the alcohol. Alcohol didn't really make me feel good. It made me not feel.
Yeah.
And you guys probably already knew that. It took me a little bit longer. I'm a slow burner, slow turner,
So wait a minute, how many years of sobriety are we talking here?
Before I figured that out, or how many do I have right now?
Where you at?
I have 41 and a half years. You get over 40, you start doing the halves. No, not really.
I know. I pick up a chip for the entire 30 days,
Of it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm everywhere.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
I'm everywhere.
Yeah.
He's at every meeting in town.
I'm patting myself on the back all the way up to the fucking chip.
And then he goes to the casino and tries to play him.
Right. I ended up I did get the award though in Pinellas County though for the most humble guy in AA. Yeah.
Wow. Do you have any speaker tapes about your humility or any books?
Well,
anything you could autograph?
I did get I got the medallion, and then I wore it on my neck, and then they took it away from me. So that was it. It was. And I don't usually speak about humility unless there's like 500 people in the room. There's got to be at least 500, or I won't speak about humility.
Yeah, I have a book coming out.
Okay.
Yeah, you both are very humble. I love it.
Hey, listen, my buddy Ed used to say, "I'm just another bozo on the bus," and I got to remember that. And again, I'm hoping that God's speaking through me today about being a power message for someone who's struggling, whether they're struggling with a lot of sobriety or very little, or not even knowing whether they want to be in AA or what's AA about. I mean, AA is really the people who are in it at any given time. I mean, it's set of principles and the 12 steps, but too, when you go in them rooms, who's there? Who's there?
Dude, I got to tell you, I've recycled this program so many times, but there have been days when I feel like I need to go pick up a white chip and I haven't had anything to drink. Like I am that distraught, or I think so little of myself. And then there's other days I think about myself all day long, but there's the balance of, and that's the difference between, 6 months or a year sobriety versus, decades, is the balance comes a little easier, I guess, or the solution. I know where the solution is, to maybe a specific issue.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know how to find a little bit more happiness, a little easier, and I'm not afraid to ask for help. That humility or the pride that got in the way. And that uncool thing that we experience because we're cool. We don't want to do the uncool thing.
Well, we got years of sobriety. We can't let people know. Oh my God, the guy's got 33 years and he's falling apart. What the heck?
Yeah.
Right.
And I went through something at 33 years sober.
Really?
And some personal relationship stuff. And I don't, need to go into the graphics of that, but it hurt. I was ate up. I was tore up. And you know what? I'm in a meeting at the dry dock, and is it okay to mention meetings here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen, anything goes.
Okay.
We're going
too late now anyway. So
we're going to edit anything out.
Anything that you don't like, I have to say, but what, you don't like anything? Everything I say? What the heck? No, I'm messing with you.
This has been great so far.
I was in there, and so this girl comes up to me and she goes, "Oh my gosh," she says, "Thank you so much for showing that you can have years of sobriety and still hurt and still go through pain, because we got to show that."
Yeah.
And not saying that there's a time for just share. There's someone said you share your misdemeanors at the meetings, and your felonies with your sponsor, and I just heard that recently. Sounds good. That's what we do is pick up something else. People say this is a copycat program. You just got to find the right guy to copy. There's all, and I love little sayings that are in AA, and I take them and run with them. Get a dose of vitamin AA every day. Get a checkup from the neck up. All this stuff. But
stick with the winner.
And sometimes people are like, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear real.
Yeah.
I want to hear real. But I ended up going to 80. Back to the story of how I got here. He was like, well, how'd you get here? So I went to 80 meetings in 8. Well, the guy told me. I know where I was, backing up a little bit. The guy shook my hand and he said, welcome. He says, so you think you're an alcoholic? And I go, oh yeah, I know I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah.
First meeting. He says, so how often you drink? And I thought that was a stupid question. I go, I drink every day. I wouldn't, well, they drink
playing around.
Yeah,
there.
I drink every day. Is there any other way to drink? I thought that was really, truly from, and if you're an alcoholic, don't you drink every day? And I'm, not every, and again, if you're out there wondering, well, I don't drink every day, so I must not be one. That's not the way it is. I heard a good one this morning. If you're in college, you can't be an alcoholic. I heard that this morning. Never heard it in a meeting before. You can't be an alcoholic until after, if you're still drinking after college, you might be an alcoholic. But if you're an alcoholic, you're in college, you're not an alcoholic. I was like, oh, I never heard that before.
It must have been a college kid.
Well, they were 2 years out of college and they were still drinking. So they said, well, I guess I better start taking heed, But, you never know what I heard an old guy with 50 something years on a speaker meeting. That's why he goes, now remember, he goes, it's sobriety. Old guy, raspy voice. It's sobriety. And it starts with S-O-B. And I'm thinking, what's that? What's he going to go next? I think that, and he goes, stay off booze.
Oh.
And I'd never heard that.
Yeah.
That was this year. I heard that. You hear stuff. You still hear stuff that are like, wow, that's cool. I like that. I'll take it.
So. I've been really, I've been going to a lot more meetings since I moved, and this guy asked me to start a podcast.
Right.
And I was at like
so far, so good.
Yeah, 2-3 meetings a week was my thing. And, and I was good. I had a squad. I had a good support group, everything. Sponsor dies. Hurricane blows all my shit up. I move, I get married. And I'm like, now I'm like going to like 5 or 6 meetings. I might be too sober, I think, but I've been going to like 5 or 6 meetings a week. And you know what? I'm hearing and I'm back in it. I'm like, it's such an awesome thing that you always get the time and a half. Whatever work you get paid, when you do work, you get paid time and a half. And yes, I like to see that.
He says it every show.
Yeah, I do.
It's pretty
good.
But
it's true. We get paid time and a half. And, and I just love the discovery of new people and new things. And I told my wife, I said, she's like, you're really going to a lot of meetings, because I wasn't going to that many meetings when we first met. And now I'm like, and I'm networking again, and I'm meeting new people. And, it's weird because you have time, and I show up in that ridiculous vehicle and people are like, who's this jerk? You know what I mean? And maybe I come off a little slick sometimes, but I love the fact that I can go in and meet people and it's all brand new.
You reignited an old meeting of yours too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. He had a meeting that him and some guys did for 20 years and they disbanded a little bit. Now he put it back together.
Well, the wizard meeting, we call it the wizard meeting. There were some guys that didn't necessarily want to share in a public forum that needed a meeting.
Right.
And, so we kind of got together once a month. We'll call it the sponsees will call it the wizard meeting.
Right.
Where are you going? Oh, so we're going to a meeting. What meeting are you going to? Well, it's a invitation only.
Meeting.
Yeah, they were a little salty about it.
Right.
But I'm glad you put it back together because you were missing it. Talking about networking, and
I did it last night, actually. Yeah.
And, I've been to some of those secret society ones where you got to know the secret handshake, and that one. Everybody there had over 45 years.
Wow.
And there were 6 guys there, but one guy didn't show up, and you know what happened?
They talked about him.
He died.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it's like these guys are old, So you got how do you get old? Don't die. How do you become an old timer?
Yeah.
And so I ended up. And the guy said a couple other things. He said alcoholism is a disease. And he said, the AMA says that, not just AA. He said, we knew it before A did, or before they did, but AMA, at this time, they were just starting to say that.
The medical.
Yeah, American. Yeah. And so I'm like, and he goes, so then what they say is it's progressive and it's terminal.
Yeah.
And then he goes, he could tell I was a little pie-eyed, long hair, beard. I mean, much like I look today, but he goes, it means it's progressive and it's terminal. Means it's, if you don't do something about it, it only gets worse. It's going to kill you. And I was 4 days dry from being locked up.
Yeah.
And then listened to him. And I walked out of and I went, and then he said, come tomorrow. And I said, I don't know. And, 90 and 90, I don't know what that meant. And he also said another thing. And if you go down to 1112 Central Avenue to their meeting down there, it's called the St. Pete Group. There's an old school, 12 steps and 12 traditions. And I told Detroit Lou this, and he couldn't, he was like, yeah, right. And it says, we're powerless over alcohol. And then it goes ... And then it says, in our lives have become unmanageable. He goes, he took me over to him. He goes, see that? Them dots? He goes, your eyes are a little fuzzy. He says, but that says in all other drugs, right? In other drugs, right? And he said, you can't do the marijuana maintenance. You can't do any other drugs. He was pretty emphatic. Well, I went, the bottom line of it is I went to 80 meetings, 80 days. I didn't do the steps. I was too focused. I was messed up. I was screwed up. Didn't know there were steps. Didn't know anything.
So you didn't go to treatment?
No.
God, no, he didn't go to treatment either. When I went to treatment, they took my cologne away from me. I'm like, had I known that was a problem, it's like, I could probably still drink because I never drank cologne.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that got me another couple years out there.
Yeah.
They took my cologne away.
Yeah. So no treatment for me. 80 days, 80 meetings. I didn't drink in between. So that's the least today. Going to meetings and not drinking does for you. And I went to a wedding and I toasted and I went on a run. I had one glass of champagne. Boom, I was on a run. I ran 10 more months, give or take. But I came to the real jumping off point where I stopped drinking. This came to my sobriety date. I was tore up inside.
Yeah.
I'm an iron worker, tough guy, fell off some buildings and all that. So what? Sew me up, patch it back together, whatever.
Yeah.
Grab a piece of hot iron that, someone else would say, you ain't touching that. I mean, my hands were like leather back in the day. And I was tore up inside. I was in a room full of people partying and I was all alone in my head. I felt so alone. And I knew those guys in AA. Every once in a while, when I have a hangover or something, and I used to never get sick, but it was getting progressively worse. So I started commode hugging more, playing to the porcelain god, missing a little bit of work, sleeping through, blacking outs more. And I don't want to talk about waking up with strange people, with strange women, but that was happening, and where am I? Literally walking out and not knowing what city I was in. Not that I ever went on any long ones, but I just didn't know where I was. And I'd have to go out and walk maybe a block or two, find out where I was. But I ended up, someone knew I was in AA and went out and said that if you ever want to go again. And I went back to an AA meeting, 24 years old, just 24, March 31st, 1984. I haven't found it necessary to pick up a drink or a drug. And they said, you're shaking pretty bad. Welcome. Go shake hands.
Sweet.
Oh, nice.
I shook hands for a month and a half.
Nice.
And then they said, you quit shaking, go make coffee. And I made coffee. And I made coffee for over a year at that group. And it was the big pot. So there was a saying that you don't hear it as much. You still hear it around a little bit, is I have to act my way into good thinking. I can't think my way into good action.
Oh, nice.
And so that's what they were getting me to suit up and show up, and you might show up later. How many times have we gone to a meeting and not heard what someone said? How many times it takes us 20 minutes into the meeting before we really show up at the meeting? We're sitting there. Our mind might be thinking about something else.
I still do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And I hate myself.
Yeah.
I get so frustrated. I'm like, you're so self-centered. And I can't even get down. I'm actually getting ready to pick up a white chip just by thinking about it.
I definitely got a thinking problem. Yeah.
I can't stop thinking about other stuff, and I want to be present. And you know what? When we put these headphones on, I'm like here, 100%. For whatever reason, This has like been a cure for me. I'm like, whoa, I just have to walk around with them all the time now. But
as long as your wife's not trying to talk to you.
oh my God.
Then you're in trouble.
Me and her are funny like that, but there are times where when I know when I have to dial the modulator into the right frequency, so I'm picking her up perfectly. And there's other times it's just not coming in, but I have to dial that in because when she needs me, she needs me. You know what I mean? And that's the gift of being sober is being accountable, man. I love to be dependent upon.
Right.
I love that. I love that I'm not going to let somebody down.
Right.
Yeah.
And as you stay sober and do that, and when you jump back to the meeting thing, okay, I'm a meeting guy. Okay. I go to meetings constantly, almost, people, my friend Linda, she's got, 45 years or whatever. She goes over to the Weaver Park. She goes, "You're high on meetings again." I went to listen to a new couple guys speak over at the back porch. And the one guy was up there, and I'd known him for years, and he was just coming back. And I thought he had 20-something years, and he's like, "I got 20 days." Or at this time, he had about 3 months. He was still kind of shaking and baking a little bit. But they asked him to speak because he had a good message because he'd been around so long. Yeah. I remember seeing him years and years ago.
Sure.
And I go, "You got this." And then at the end, I go, "Listen, if you don't, I'm sitting here. Just focus on me, whatever. If you don't, I got your back."
Right.
He spoke for 5 minutes. He says, "Lou, get up here." Someone else spoke, and then he spoke. He said, "Lou, come up here, take the rest of it." That's all I got. Yeah. And I've been over Sunday Night Live, and the first speaker shows up, speaks, and then the guy who's in charge comes up with, "My second speaker just called, ain't gonna make it. Can you make it?" And you go up there. Hey, I'm willing to get up and share, not because of my ego, because I know that's what my purpose is. I love AA because of two things. It gives us a code, love and tolerance, right? Yeah. And it also gives us a purpose. It tells us our real purpose is to be a maximum service to God and the people about us. The most maximum service I'm going to be to anybody is from having an experience of being sober, experience of being a drunk. That's just my life. I'm sorry, and I do go to a lot of meetings. There's 5 meetings in Bryson City where I bought a house. I go to every one of them. And one's at noon, 2 are at noon, one's at 5:30, one's at 6:30, one's at 7 at night.
You've earned that opportunity, but when you're going through the building of family and business, and there's a part of our sobriety, where there's this, hey, we got to go out and catch up on some life stuff too, and get and I know that you're a businessman, and I had to go out and get an education, and that my life was so full. And it was amazing how much I could accomplish without having to spend my time chasing women in the bars till the early morning, and waking up next to whatever. And that whole lifestyle, like, it was crazy how great and productive of a person I could be.
Yes. And I still have to say that I'm a member of the No Matter What Club.
Yes.
Okay. And you hear that. There's no matter what, I don't drink. But then no matter what, as the 301 group has on the wall, priorities of life. Have you been there?
No.
Okay. Take a trip over there if you want to. You'll come out of there grateful. Yeah. The walls are sooted up. It's pretty rough. It's a rough neighborhood, but the sobriety's great.
Now, the one in downtown Clearwater on Fort Harrison?
Yes.
Dude, I went to 301 back on the hill.
Okay, so and they still have the plaque. It's crocheted or something, and it says priorities of life. Number 1, sobriety. Number 2, everything else. And I've been from that school. That's the school I was brought up in.
Oh yeah.
And I know second things second, third things third. Yeah. And if you have kids and all that, and listen, I was a scout leader. I went to imagine me with a little outfit on. I look kind of sexy, but the girls liked it, and you got to be careful because all the moms are in there. But not to be, it is what it is. But
it's rough.
It's a tough program, yeah. But I've always kept sobriety number 1, and people have asked, how did you become so successful? And I didn't have a list going, I'm going to have this, or I'm going to be here, I'm going to be this, I'm going to stay sober today. And the rest of it is taking care of itself. It's amazing. For this alcohol, sure. I'm not saying that's going to happen to everybody.
Right.
But for this guy, that's what has always been number one. Yeah, you got a relationship. You got to work at a relationship. You know, and when it comes to relationship, the biggest one is the one you have with yourself. If you don't have a good relationship with yourself, you can cut all the rest of them out. They're done.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I bought
Good advice.
One of those damn electric scooters that go about 35 miles an hour, and I was like, I might need a helmet. Maybe I give a shit now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I literally thought that. I'm like, I might need a helmet. One, because I'm a little crazy, which is good. But two, I want to be dependent on. I don't want to hurt myself and have to be, God forbid, I have to ask for help or something, you know?
Right.
You know.
Well, I don't know what we're doing for time.
I'll
here.
be keeping my eyes open for you.
Okay.
I'm sorry about it. Go keep, dude. Your
You're doing
story.
just fine.
So I ended up getting sober, and I was dry 7 months before I came to. That's how long it took for me to come to, from all the crap that I did. I was the guy who would, like, you remember the old commercial, the Life cereal commercial would go, let's get Mikey, he'll eat anything. Well, it would be, let's get Lou, he'll try anything. Yeah. And I ended up in some serious stuff from that, you know, so there was a lot missing up here. And again, like I said,
he likes it.
Yeah. And let's watch him. Well, and they go, well, one's good. Well, give me two. You know, they used to have these things called Shermans, and it was like a cigarette that was soaked in formaldehyde and jet fuel. And you could smoke those, and you take 3 tokes, and you lose probably about 10,000 brain cells. You know, who knows what was in them, and just stupid stuff that we did to just, you know, get lost, lost in space. Yeah. I mean, and I don't want to start mentioning names because people start going, oh, let me try that, or let me eat that, or, you know. And so I was like really just a garbage head, you know, whatever I could get to get out of it, but get out of reality. And I ended up, and then I was dry, and I was so amazed when I had a week of sobriety. When I had one day, I was amazed, you know, of like, hey, I'm doing this.
Right.
Because my head was telling me I couldn't go a day without drinking. I did not think that I could go a day without drinking, not because I didn't think physically. My head said, no, you can't do it.
Yeah.
You know, and I grew up, started at 15, all those emotions and all that. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I got a week, I got a month. I was one of them guys who were just like, look at me, I'm not drinking. I wasn't doing nothing else.
So how did these steps get introduced to you?
So that's where I'm going to.
All right.
So I'm hanging iron, unloading a truckload of iron. And we're pulling, the big semi comes and loads iron. We're pulling the chains off. And this guy worked with me when I was drinking. And he says to the truck driver, this guy's an alcoholic. He hadn't had a drink in 6 months. I wish he'd drink a bottle of booze. He's miserable. And I'm thinking, look at me. I'm happy. What's he talking about? Yeah. And also, I was going to, again, this is something important, I think, in sobriety, is to go to different kinds of meetings besides speaker meetings, discussion meetings, literature meetings, big book meetings, you know, step meetings and stuff like that. And I've never been big on the different gender meetings. I've never, you know, like I'm just talking about men's meetings. Okay. You know, I never did a lot of men's meetings.
Okay.
I can say all the way through. I've been to them. Don't get me wrong. I've spoken at a couple of them, you know, people hear me speak and go, oh, can you come speak at my group or whatever? But, so I'm like, but also the state said they thought I was an habitual offender and I had to get evaluated for $50. And the joke was, you give me $50 and I'll show you I'm an alcoholic. Yeah. You know, I'm not going to give you $50 to tell me, but I had to anyways. And they said I was a bitch. So I ended up they did have to go to that council, like 8 classes, because I had the second DWI and that. I went, and I saw more denial in that class than anything. That was the best thing about that class, because everybody in it was denying they were a problem. I'm going to AA meetings and everybody's denying that they're a problem, you know? And I'm like, they go, how many meetings you go to? I go, wow. So I ended up, then that thing happened with the chains, right? And then I had a moment of clarity in the literature, in the big book that said, or in 12 and 12, it said, if you miss this vital step, you may not overcome drinking.
Yeah.
Now I was starting to get some twinkle in my eye. some snapped in my walk, and some jingle in my pocket. Right? Because let's face it, the minute that you stop drinking, you usually get a raise. Even if you don't get a raise, you get a raise because you're not spending money on the jacked up stuff. You're not paying to get out of trouble. You're not buying it, all this.
Where was that? Was that the second step or
that
third step?
That was when I realized everything.
No, the quote that you did. I was trying to remember where that was.
It's right. It's in the fourth and fifth step. If you do not do this step,
that's right. This crucial step. It must be followed at once.
Yeah, if you don't do this step, you may not overcome drinking.
Yeah.
And I'm going, what? Wait, I'm liking this. I started out, this is okay. This is okay. This is pretty good. This is really good. This is great. But I still wasn't doing the steps.
Right. Yeah.
And then I was 6-7 months sober, and I did the steps, and I lived the steps, and I did them. I lived the steps. I still doing the steps today. I'm still making amends to when I make a mistake. I still do a 10-step inventory. I don't do it exactly like they say in the book by doing it every night because I do it. I'm sober. I know when I'm doing something wrong.
Right.
You know when you're doing something wrong, promptly admit it. Not at the end of the day.
If you're making amends every day, then you really got to maybe to do something that you should have done. You should have taken another character defect out too. Yeah.
Right. And I'm just saying, I still make amends if I need to.
Sure.
And so people said they did the steps. If you read the steps, I'm not going to give a step breakdown, but it says we saw it. Okay, you got to do more sawing. I heard an old guy say sawing. Let's do some more sawing. You're just not doing enough sawing. What do you mean sawing? It says improve. We're supposed to improve our conscious contact. Right? Not the same as it was last year or 5 years ago. Better than so it's supposed to improve. We're supposed to continue. We're supposed to carry, right? We're supposed to practice. These are all action words. So how can anybody who says they've done the steps? I cringe when people said I did the steps or I've done the steps. I unless they're using it they did them and they're still doing them.
They're working them.
Yeah, they're working the steps.
They're a practice.
Yeah, it's practice these principles on all affairs. And if it's too much, just find out what the principles are. Honesty, hope, faith, courage, stuff like that. I mean, today I had an issue with honesty. I mean, this guy's sober 40 years and had an issue with honesty. But, if you don't stay honest, you'll be back to the point where you'll tell yourself the biggest lie.
Yep.
The biggest lie. And you know what it is? That I can drink again. So... today I had to go back and straighten something out because it's kind of one of them sin of omissions. Yeah, sure. Right. I realized the guy didn't charge me for something that I bought.
Oh.
And I was like, oh wow, that was, oh shit, and I actually drove back and before, I'm not going to go, whether I was coming here tonight or not, I wasn't going to live with it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I was in there, and the guy didn't make it like it was a big deal. Wow, it's so nice of you, or anything like that. He goes, "Oh, okay, I appreciate you bringing it back," and I paid for it, So it doesn't matter. The stuff, life's lifey. People are going to piss you off. You might accidentally flip the bird to somebody. I haven't done that in a while. I was speaking one time 5 years ago. I haven't flipped the bird in 2 years. The next day, I was flipping the bird at some guy. And so you be careful about what you say. When you start giving yourself a pat on the back. And when you're speaking of practice, like this flute, okay, that I brought in here.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm on a mountain in Sedona, and I hear this guy. He climbs up on top of a mountain, and he pulls out this flute, and he plays this beautiful flute music. He goes, "This is for peace on earth," and he plays it's unbelievable. I mean, I'm like, wow, cool. He's up 25 feet up on this red rock. It's in a canyon, and the vortex is out there where the energy's flowing. You guys probably know all about that, but that's out in Sedona. If you haven't been there, you go there and you go,
I've been there.
And so I'm like, that's cool. So then he played one for, peace to love and mankind. And it's another nice one. So he came down and he gave out these little red hearts that he carved out of red rock. And he hit him out, just a cool cat, right? And I'm like, well, I'd love to be able to play that. Thanks a lot, man. So I go into town and they're selling these little tiny flutes about this big. Same thing as this, but tiny, about like a cigar. And I go, well, I'm on vacation. I can drop a couple bucks. So I buy one. It's $40. And then lady goes, we'll give you a free lesson. So she gives me a lesson. It takes about 2 seconds. She just goes up the scale and down the scale and goes, here, go try it.
Yeah.
So if you're a musician, you can understand that, right? And I'm like, what? And she goes, just do that until it sounds good. And I did that. And, eventually it took a week. It took a week. And it's harder to play a little flute than a bigger flute because it's more spiky and pitchy. Mm-hmm. And I got it. And then I started buying flutes. Well, at one point I had 25 flutes. I'm an alcoholic, So I did learn how to play the flute. I'll play a quick one for you. And I got one I play sometimes, and it's about letting go. Okay. If you got something like this that you're holding on to, in your childhood, or, just something that just today's eating your lunch. We all have stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so I can't play a tune. I can't play anything. Okay. I can play the flute, but I can't play Amazing Grace. I can't play anything. But I came up with this one run. I just kind of made it up in my head. And I think that if you listen to it close enough, you'll hear the flute say, let it go, let it go, let it go, right. let it go. So, and I've done it with people, and people can sometimes hear it, but it's only people with open minds. So I don't know if you guys will work, but we're going to try it. All right. So don't be offended if you don't hear it. I mean,
I had a poster of Jethro Tull in my room growing up, so I'm open minded. I can deal with the flute.
Everybody always goes, "Can you play any Tull?" I mean, that's everybody says. I go, if I could play some Tull, I probably wouldn't be talking to you.
Right.
But this is the tune. So I'm just gonna run a little tune, and then at the end I'll just say listen and see if you can hear it. All right. Okay. And you might be let go, let it go, or let it go, whatever. Just keep your mind open. And if you close your eyes, and you open them, all your stuff's missing. I'm sorry, you guys took the bait,
Where's my wallet? Yeah. All right, let's do this.
Okay, listen up.
That was really good.
Well,
I feel it.
I got an image to uphold there, and I'm from. That was cool, man.
Thank you, Lou. That was really cool.
My pleasure.
Nice.
That's
a perfect segue. Here on Sober Shenanigans, we do a celebrity quote every show. And for Lou, the musically inclined, today's quote is from David Bowie. David Bowie got sober in 1993, and he stayed that way until he passed away in 2016. And what David Bowie said was, "One day I realized that I really needed to stop losing myself in my work and in my addictions. What happens is you just wake up one morning and feel absolutely dead. You can't even drag your soul back into your body. You feel you have negated everything that is wonderful about life. When you have fallen that far, it feels like a miracle when you regain the love of life." David Bowie.
Nice. Love him, man.
Love it.
China.
Yeah.
Oh, my brother turned me on to Jethro Tull and David Bowie.
Yeah, and speaking of the joys of life, I mean, for me, every day is a joy. People ask me almost on a regular basis, and no matter where I am, we say, "Hey, how you doing?" Whatever. You go in the post office. "How you doing?" "I'm doing great." "Why are you great?" "I'm stoked." They go, "Why are you stoked? What's going on? Why are you so stoked?" I go, "I'm stoked because I'm alive."
Yeah.
And I'm sober. And I don't always throw the sober thing in there. I just sound stoked, you know, because we don't realize how much of a gift it is until we don't have it. That's what we find out. You know, that's like sobriety, you know, and I've been on a real roll lately with a lot of meetings, and I've met so many people who've had sobriety and lost it.
Right.
And come back.
Yeah.
And I just listened to a speaker meeting the other day, and the guy was, I would give him the Mr. AA award because he started meetings, he was running things, doing treatment centers, doing everything. And he got away, and his life got better. And he moved out of a small town community, moved up into Seattle, and started hanging out with some people with, you know, upper echelon, whatever you want to call them, people with businesses. They were drinking. He was seeing them. He wasn't drinking, you know, and he had a drug addiction also. And he said, well, I think I can drink safely now. And within a year, he was ripping and roaring. You know, he told himself the biggest con was, well, I think I'm just going to grow some marijuana plants in the backyard because I think they look cool.
They sure do.
Never said ever. No one's ever said that before.
Yeah.
They look cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they smell great too. And they taste excellent is what he was going to say after that.
Yeah. And then he said, I was smoking it. And I've heard that early on in sobriety. I'll tell you a couple of things that really helped me stay sober in the beginning. 2 things. Well, one is the fact that it's not cool. It's not always cool what happens, right? But I got sober and I did live in the steps and doing the deal. I was working out of town, and I got a call that my dad died. And I was in Miami down there, and I had to come home here. And I just got done working 10 hours. I was going in the shower, and I'd been going to a meeting. I didn't have a driver's license for 5 years now.
Right.
I didn't have a driver's license for almost 5 years in sobriety. Well, 1 year of it I was drinking, but, you know, so I called central office, and they hooked me up with a guy, and he told me, don't call central office anymore. He got me, took me to a meeting. He says, don't call him anymore. I got you. You just call me. Here's my number, and I'll come pick you up. So staying in a, you know, the hotel, whatever. He picked me up every day when I was in town. Every day I went to a meeting when I was in town.
Wow.
And when I worked there, every night I went. So I was going to a meeting that night. So I was a little over a year sober. I was in it. I was in AA. I'm doing the deal. And when I got the news, I went in the shower, and see, AA taught me I could feel. And I went in the shower, and I just stood in the shower. I think I maybe sat down in the shower for a while, and I cried like a baby. I mean, cried. You know, make me want to cry now, how much I cried, how much I love my dad. He did get to see me sober. He died at 53 years old.
It's awesome.
And I went to a meeting that night. I went to a meeting, and I walked out, and I looked up, and I had a relationship with a higher power by then. And I went, he's okay. He's okay. He's okay. And I went to the meeting. I walked in the meeting. I was still tore up, but I was okay. The guy picked me up. I shared with him. I went to the meeting, and I shared. And there was a guy there who was at the meeting when I shared it. And I had given him a white chip maybe a month before. And he didn't think he could stay sober. I grabbed him. Of course, I grabbed him at his first meeting, gave him his chip, talked to him afterwards for 20 minutes. He said, I can't stay sober. No way. I said, yeah, you can. He said, well, no, because of this. He had some physical ailment, something that you could physically see on it. Mm. And I go, don't worry about that. You know, just come back tomorrow. And he came back. So he called me. Job got done. I went home. I buried my dad. You know, we buried my dad, and everything's okay. And I was there for my sister and my brother. And a year later, I get a call from him. He says, hey, man, it's Richard from down here in Fort Lauderdale. I go, who? And he says, you gave me my white chip. I go, yeah. Oh, cool. And he goes, I want you to know something you said at that very first meeting made me come back and made me stay sober. Right? It helped me stay sober. And I go, I didn't do anything, you know, but something, I reached out, you know, and believe me, I'm not trying to make it about me, but just as to what this program can give you, the ability to help other people. And so I ended up giving him a white chip and also sharing with him. And he told me he had a year, and he said, thank you. We ended up 3 years later, fast forward 3 years, 3.5 years, I go down there because someone had ran into this building that we built. They wanted me to go down there and fix it. I was going to be there one day. I go down there for one day, spend the night, go to find a meeting. This was before you could find it real easy. You didn't know how to find meetings. You had to and I'm not a techie guy, as you all know. I'm not a techie. I'm an iron worker. So I go, all right. So I go to the meeting, and who do I see? Richard. I get my coffee. I'm walking to go sit down. I see him. He gets up, sees me, walks. We meet in the middle of the room. It was like, boom, and he looks at me, he goes, hey, you remember me? And I go, yeah, your name's Richard. He goes, yeah, you're Lou. He goes, I'm from Florida, St. Pete. I go, yeah. He goes, you just helped me a whole lot, man, like 2 months ago. I go, what? How did I help you? I haven't been here in 3 years. He goes, my dad died. And he said, I went straight to the bar. Four Jack Daniels lined up on the bar. I was going to get drunk. I couldn't take the pain. And he said he had a flashback of a guy named Lou who came in with less than a year and a half after his dad died, came straight to a meeting, same day, and didn't drink. If that guy can do it with a year and a half, I should be able to do it with 3.5 years.
Sweet.
Wow.
He said he slid him across away from me, got him, he went to a meeting, he's still sober.
That's great.
So the message is we never know when we're going to share at a meeting and help somebody. Never. We never know. We never know. And then that was one of the things that was very powerful. And when I tell that story, I started telling a little bit more. When I was sober over 30 years, I was in Ozona meeting on Father's Day Sunday, which is always on Sunday, right? Ozona that I go to. That's kind of my home group that I go to. I also Weaver Park, I helped start that.
Cool.
In Bryson City, I have a home group in Bryson City also. But someone said something, and I said something about my dad, and I started crying like a baby.
Cool.
Crying like a baby, At 30-something years sober, 30 years after my dad died, you never know what's still locked up inside of us. It's appealing. They say, appealing and healing, and feeling and healing and all this. And it's still, and now I think it's joy, and still there's some missing because he didn't get to see my kids. He never got to see, them. My daughter's getting married in 10 days.
Congratulations.
I was 28 years old. She's never seen me drunk or stoned. My son just got married in December. He's never saw me drunk or stoned, And they're all their friends know I'm in the program. So maybe I'll touch someone's life that way. I don't know. Yeah. And they drink a little, and I just have to be okay with that.
You might be the only big book somebody ever sees. Yeah. I was going to say that.
No, I didn't know you were going to say that. I really did, but I've heard it for sure. I've heard that once before, just once. No, but and then the other thing I'd like to share, and this was very, very powerful. That really, it's a powerful share that I'm going to say for me. Maybe not you. For me, it was. I went. I got called. We were on the list, the 12-step list back in the day. And they still have 12-step calls.
I was 12-stepped. Okay.
Okay, so you know where I'm coming. So I get a call, and it's from the hospital. There's someone in the hospital. They want to talk. I said, okay. So we go down there. We get some pamphlets, stuff. We go down there. We get to the room. We find the aisle and all the room. We walk in, and this guy looks at us, and he goes, who are you? We go, we're from AA. He goes, well, what are you doing here? Well, this is the room. Nope, I don't want to talk to you. Leave. And I'm looking, he's got this big pillow on his belly. And I'm thinking, why has he got a pillow on his belly? Well, so we're walking out the door. As we walk out the door, here comes a lady with a cup of coffee. And she goes, oh, hi, how you doing? We go, well, we're a little bit mixed up. We don't know where we're supposed to be. And she goes, who are you? I go, we're from AA. Come in. As soon as we came in, you see the guy roll his eyes. Right? Like, oh, geez. He thought he dodged the bullet.
Yeah.
He thought he dodged the bullet because we don't want to talk about it, right?
Sure.
So we start talking. We share a little. He goes, you guys are in your 20s. You're not alcoholic. So it makes you think you're an alcoholic. So we identified a little bit, well, usually if you have problems and you drink related to the problems, could be a chance you're an alcoholic. Well, I don't think my buddy used to hide his in the toilet sink, and this, that, tank and this. I'm not an alcoholic. And he says, I don't have any problem. Now I see he's got cirrhosis of the liver on his chart. And it's not a pillow, it's a belly, right?
Oof.
But it was weird because he wasn't yellow. Usually they get real yellow when you get
Jaundice.
that. And I've seen that before. I've seen people yellower than yellow, but this guy wasn't that yellow as I remember, but he had this huge extended belly, like two pillows, like a pregnant woman. And I'm like, well, what about this? And he goes, well, this is the first time. And then his wife goes, well, you were here for pancreatitis the year before. And the year before that, something else. Well, you don't overextend. If the guy doesn't want you to be there, you leave your number. His wife kept elbowing him. We'll come get you, take you to a meeting. He kind of nodded. He wasn't all enthusiastic. We left him the literature, our phone number, and we left. Right? And so 10 days go by. I don't think nothing about it. I get a phone call. And I still don't remember the lady's name. I'm not going to use it, but pretty common name. She says, this is Mrs. So-and-so. I'm like, who? She goes, you came down. I didn't even know what her last name when I went down there, right? And I go, who? She says, you came down and spoke to my husband at Humana Hospital on 38th Avenue. I still remember where it was, right here in town, 38th Avenue. And I said, oh, yeah. Now I'm excited. I'm going to take this guy to a meeting, right? And she goes, oh, well, come get him. She says, no, I want to thank you for coming down and talking to him. But he didn't check out. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm only sober a year and a half.
Right.
A year and a quarter, maybe. My dad hadn't passed away yet. And I went, oh, now what does that tell you? What does that tell you? It tells you this guy was on his deathbed. He had a chance to maybe find out a little bit about AA. He was still denying that he was an alcoholic. Now, I feel like I have the same disease that he has. I don't know if you guys do, but talk about some gratitude. And I try to share that once in a while, and maybe I'll throw that in on a speaker lead or something. That if you've made it to the doors of Alcoholics Anonymous, what are you going to do with it? Because there's people who have never made it.
We are the chosen.
Wow.
Blessed. We're blessed.
Well, that's one. There's a YouTube out there about addiction. They're the chosen ones and all that. I like it. Yeah, we're blessed. I don't like to say that we're when the God that I understand, and I don't want to get into politics or religion or anything.
Sure.
But I think he looks down evenly on all of us. Evenly. I don't think there's any judgment. And I try not to judge instead of, but that's a tricky thing about AA. They tell you not to judge, right?
Sure.
But then they say stick with the winners. So
got to take that inventory sometime.
Yeah. So, but that was very powerful in my sobriety. And I know I'm kind of bouncing around, throwing all kinds of stories. I told you I'm a storyteller. I got lucky. I got another blessing in sobriety, service work.
Yes. And
service work's three sides, right?
Sure.
And you can be super service and not doing the other. You're going to be messed up. Or you can be doing one or the two or the three. A triangle isn't strong until it gets all three of them equal. One can be real. I've met people that back in the day when I was sober 3 or 4 years, I would go, they're never going to drink. And they drank because they were toting new people around at meetings and picking them up and doing stuff. And they weren't getting something. They missed something. It's three: unity, recovery, and service. It's all three of them. And I had this service commitment I got. And I don't know how I got it. I don't even remember. But just someone said, hey, there's an opening. You want to take it? And I said, sure. And it was at Par over on 66th Street, off 62nd there. And this was in 1985, 85, something like that. And nobody wanted it. Nobody took it. And I did it for over 12 years.
Wow.
Once a month. It was only once a month. But I got to go in there and I'd see the people in 28-day program. So I only saw saw them once. Maybe I saw them another year or two down the road. And every time it come around my anniversary, someone would go I go, well, I'm going to have 5 years this one. Someone said, I would have had 5 if I wouldn't have picked up. Then the next year, it was 6. I would have had 6.
Oh, yeah.
And you hear it. But the biggest thing that I got out of all that, besides being out of self, and had a commitment that mean I couldn't drink, I had to go. I mean, that's part of the service work. You don't want to let people down. And so I went in there and I shared it. And somewhere, usually in the meeting, I would say, have y'all been to AA? Has any of y'all been in AA? And I go, how many of y'all been in AA? 3/4 usually. I didn't count them and do the math, but around 3/4, you know, and I'd say, now there's 30 people, 20 people, whatever. And I'd say, okay, now listen, y'all who got your hands up, keep your hand up if you can. And just let me know. When you were in AA, did your life get better? Keep your hand up if your life got better. And guess how many of them lowered their hand?
None of them.
Ever. Beautiful.
Yeah.
None of them.
None
Now, do the math on that.
Yeah.
If you do, okay, I did, even if you did say I went 10 years, times 12 times a year, it's 120 times how many people? 20?
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, 600 people, their life never got bad when they were in AA.
It's rarefied air, you know. Find somebody. I've never found anybody that's.
It's a good
They
stat.
just
It's a
they
good stat, good story, and yeah, I just kind of figured. I mean, I wouldn't put my hand down. I mean, you know what I mean? It'd just be like, no, my life has been substantially better since I quit drinking. I mean, I would think everybody who's in the program, their life has gotten better, or whatever program.
My sobriety is my most cherished and prized possession, bar none. Nothing else even comes close. I don't care about all the material stuff, all that stuff. But what's important to me is, you know, that I get to have this gift, and it's something that I cherish with everything, you know. And Lou, man, you were dude. We gotta get. I really really enjoyed this episode with you, man, because you're cut from the same cloth. The same things I see today. Sometimes I get a little frustrated in a meeting when I don't see some of the rituals that were passed on to me, you know, being, you know, people are not, you know, following some of the guidelines, the guardrails, and this gift that, you know, it doesn't take much to implement those things. But it's kind of got, I see it watered down. Every once in a while I get a little frustrated. I've been to the Ozona meeting. They're not playing around over there. So that's all good and fine and dandy. But I do see a little loosey-goosey running around town. So I get a little frustrated with it. And am I a bleeding deacon or am I an elder statesman? I don't know. But I do feel an obligation sometimes to say something. And it somewhat can be a little unpopular. However, I guess I would rather say something than to watch somebody die. I've walked over the bodies, man, and it just ain't cool. And there's a lot of people that I really care about that aren't here today that I wish they were here, you know? So I'm going to say something, you know?
Yeah. You know, speaking of that, if you're having a tough time quitting, whatever it is that you know you need to quit, you're not alone. There's apps and numbers and groups in your town, or you can call us if you want. Leave us a message, 813-625-2532, or hit us up on Facebook. You know, taking that first step into a room or a chat or a group with people trying to get better just like you will be the best day of your life. Lou, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Is there something you'd like to part the show with? Is there one last tidbit that you'd like to give us?
Well, I probably got 100, but, you know, I'll try to dig something out of the toolbox, you know, pick one, right? One of the biggest things, you know, I like to keep too, or I just throw this in, is also remember, keep your sense of humor. It's very important. If I see a meeting getting real serious, I'll try to throw a joke or a spin up. My sponsor used to say, anytime you can crack on me in a meeting to make it laugh, do it, you know, and even we got the big full moon out there, you know, and it was like the two drunks been drinking all night. They walk out of the bar and they're walking down the street and the one goes, is that the moon up there? And the other one goes, how the hell do I know? I don't live around here, you know? And so we got to remember to keep our sense of humor. But what I always try to say is when we couldn't get the stuff, right? And I said it today because someone was complaining about a meeting, you know, I said, hey, if you were out there ripping and roaring and you got kicked out of a bar, you'd go to another bar. If you didn't like that bar, you'd go to another bar. If you couldn't get your stuff, if you couldn't cop from this guy, you'd be on the phone calling another guy. Or if that guy didn't answer, you'd be calling him back. You'd be blowing his phone up until then, right? So we were willing to go to any lengths, right? We wanted it. We were getting ready. We were starting to Jones. But we'd go do the deal. Put that into your sobriety. Get excited about it. Get stoked about being sober. And one day you're like, that dude is right. You know, it's worth it. You'll be walking down the road and you'll be going, you know, I'm happy, joyous, and free. You might start even singing, even though you can't carry a tune. You know, which I can.
Yeah.
You know, I used to sing in the shower. My kids would go, Dad, stop. You know, so keep your sense of humor, but put some seriousness to this. It's about balance. And if you're not enjoying sobriety, whose fault is it? It's your own damn fault, you know? And if you don't like your home group, get in there and jump on, fix it, or start another one, or join another one, you know? I heard this girl the other day say, well, I've been through 10 sponsors. And I'm thinking, well, what do you think the problem might be? You know, and I'm not picking on girls. It could be anything, you know. Put your focus on, energy follows attention. So if you put your focus on your sobriety and what you have, gratitude, there's a plaque that I have in my phone, and I shared at a lot of meetings, and I'll give it to you guys to throw on a website or something.
Thank you.
But it talks about what gratitude does. And it makes you happier. It makes you sleep better. It makes you just so many things. It's like 7 or 8 benefits. It's just being grateful, you know. And when you step back and see, let those with eyes see. Let those with eyes see. So we see what we really have. We've been given a precious, precious gift. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Hold it, enjoy it, and savor it. Cherish it. But the biggest part of it is the more you give away, the more you don't get back, the more you get it. It's not about getting it back. It's about you get it. Unbelievable. Thanks for having me.
Dude, this guy is stoked.
He is on fire, man.
Fire.
Hanging 10 over there.
Primo, what's your final point on today's show?
Word. How do I do any kind of final
Good luck
anything?
following that.
You know, all right. So a lot of things were coming to mind. But you know, this blessed gift of meeting people and learning, remain teachable, be a sponge. You know, if you're going to be a dishwasher, be the best damn dishwasher there ever was, and be grateful to be washing them dishes. You know what I mean? I'm thinking about getting a second job here, maybe just to get some therapy, go over and wash some dishes. You know what I mean? And help that other guy, man. When that guy walks in and somebody's hurting, reach your hand out, man. There's so many great points to tonight that we can pass that on. As you know, when I take guys to the steps, some of these things are pretty kind of clear and concise about some of the things, the way they need to be done, so that I hope that it transfers onto the next guy. And it's not about an ego or none of that bullshit. You know, I get to watch somebody else recover from, and I get to help somebody, which is actually ridiculous that I'm capable or even able to help another human being. All right.
Yep.
So, I was going to say some other maybe crass crude thing, but we're finishing with a little flute play and some spirituality here. So I'm going to leave it with that.
Nice. Well, thanks for listening to Sober Shenanigans, real talk and real recovery. You know, worry, anxiety, and fear, it's all up in here. Give yourself a break. You're enough, and you're doing great. With Lou, I'm Stauff, and he's Primo. And remember, no drinks today. Very good, Lou.
Wow.
Fucking A. That is some top fucking little shelf.
We don't have to do this anymore.
No, I think that might be the best show ever.
Don't be stroking my ego.
Dude. And